Hey gang, back with another video for you today. I decided to do a blind buy haul of 5 men's fragrances from the house of Loewe. Since I speak so highly about Loewe 001 Man Eau de Parfum, a great fragrance that I recently featured in my spring fragrances video, I decided to do blind buys of 5 other men's fragrances from the discounters. So these are fragrances that I had smelled in my travels to Spain, but they're not really very widely available here in the USA, except for the discounters. So I just randomly picked 5 fragrances from this house for men, and I thought, you know what, these seem like popular ones, the ones I got. So today I'm going to do blind first impressions of these 5 fragrances from the house of Loewe, and if you're curious to learn about them, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right. Are you a fan of this house, Loewe? Do you know Loewe 001 Man? This is a fragrance that came out in 2018 or 2017. It was a duo of fragrances that were launched at Barney's, and then also they were launched at Nordstrom's. So Nordstrom's and Barney's were selling both of these. Now they're not sold at these stores anymore. Of course, Barney's is gone, but Nordstrom's doesn't have it. But I reviewed them back then. There was the men's, which is 001 Man, and then there's the women's, which is 001 Women. And both of them, I think, are great fragrances. In fact, both of them can be used, interchange between men and women. I think the women's is pretty unisex enough for a man to wear, and this is pretty unisex enough for a woman to wear. The woman's is sandalwood with some floral touches. This one is iris, carrot. No, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say iris. There's no iris here. It's carrot seeds, ambrette, musk, cypress, violet. So 5 more fragrances. Esencia Eau de Parfum, 7 Anonimo, and then finally Solo. So those are the 5 fragrances I'm going to do first impressions for you today, and I'm going to get to them in a little bit. But before I do, if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed, please do click that subscribe button below and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. How many of you are a fan of this one, and how many of you are a fan of the house of Loewe? Let me know. Put a comment down so I can find out. And also, if you're a fan, and both if you're a man or a woman, if you're a fan, put down what your favorite fragrances are from this house. And let me know if you've sampled this and what do you think about it. What I like about this one is the muskiness about it. It focuses on ambrette seeds, carrot seeds, violets, musk, and cypress. So it's woody, it's powdery, it's musky. It's really, really a sexy scent. I think it's a great scent. And again, I think it's very unisex. Both men and women, 001 Man, 001 Woman, are both very unisex. In fact, this kind of reminds me of a few other fragrances that are musky, with the ambrette being very, very dominant in the fragrance, which this one is. It's all about the ambrette, carrot seeds, and musk for me. You'll pick up some violets. No, I think the violets are pretty prominent as well. They do come in, but I think the ambrettes and the carrot seeds are more prominent. But a great scent. If you don't know this one, do check it out. I've spoken a lot about this one lately because I had, as I said, done that video about 2-3 years ago. Then I put it away, and I've occasionally come back to it, but now I think it's just really smelling great for me. So that's Eau de Parfum version of 001 Man from Loewe. There is an Eau de Toilette version which I've never sampled. Let me know if you've sampled it, if you've compared it or not. I'd like to find out. Before I move on to the 5 fragrances that I'm going to do first impressions of, I do also want to say Loewe is a Spanish house. It's a designer, fashion house obviously, and I think it was started by a German man who was in Spain. I'm not sure what the story is, dating back to the 1800s, so it's been around for a long time. And it's under LVMH, Louis Vuitton, Moet and Hennessy, so Dior, you know, Givenchy, what other brands? Drawing blank here, but it's Louis Vuitton. All these brands are under the LVMH umbrella, so they have Loewe under there as well. So here we go. Let's go ahead and get started with the first one. It's Esencia. This one was recently recommended by several folks that said that it reminds them of Polo. This is a 1988 fragrance, so this is Esencia pour Homme, and it's considered an aromatic fougere. So let's go ahead and see. Now, as I said, I have sampled these in my travels to Spain. I've been to Spain probably about 6 times since I started traveling in the mid-2000s. So I usually end up going to their department stores, and in the different cities I go, there's a whole section of Loewe fragrances, obviously, because it's such a big brand for them there in Spain. So I might have sampled this one and the rest of the collection. And one other thing I want to say, the fragrances here that I'm going to show you are the old bottles. When you go to the Loewe fragrances website, they have all been redone into these kind of bottles. So this will look like this bottle eventually, but the discounters were selling these obviously because they still have back stock. But looks like Loewe is doing a redo or redesign of their bottles, which I think makes sense. It's a more of a, you know, consistent branding and things like that, more uniform bottles, and the coloring is a little different. I think the caps might be different color and the labels might be different color, but it's going to be all these kind of bottles going forward. So this is a very old bottle. Some of the boxes also look like the current boxes, but the bottles inside are the old bottles. And here is one more old box as well. So lately they've been doing things like this and so on. But let's go ahead and open up Esencia. This is the one that was recommended as an alternative for Polo. I recently did a video on Polo alternatives, and the woman that had sent me the email was looking for alternatives for Polo. She wasn't necessarily looking for a replacement for Polo, smelling similar, but just alternatives that she can have her husband wear. Even though this is not something she was looking for, I decided to get it because I like the whole idea of an aromatic fougere. Okay, so the box is a little greenish, gold on the front. And the top of the bottles also have the Loewe logo. This is it right here. Here it is as well. So this Esencia is an aromatic fougere. As I said, it was launched in 1988. It features notes of fir, pine needles, lavender, oak moss, leather, juniper berries, green notes, tarragon, galbanum. There is galbanum. I keep talking a lot about that one lately. Let's see how close this reminds me of Polo. I mean, I don't think it's going to be identical. It's probably going to be in the same ballpark. And I have sampled this in passing for sure. Oh yeah, I could totally smell this. But you know, even though it's hinting at a Polo, I don't think it's identical. But definitely I have sampled this in passing. And don't forget, as I said, that this bottle is no longer like this. I think the bottle now looks like this, but I think it's this greenish frosted color glass, if I remember correctly. I haven't really studied the differences between the bottles. I did notice that they are different. So Esencia definitely has that Polo type smell, but I feel like I kind of like what I'm smelling a little more here. Definitely classic, definitely very, very classic scent. Definitely reminds me of the 80s. It's very, very aromatic. Lots of herbs here, lots of them. And when you look up the notes for this, it's chock full of green herbs and aromatics and spices and things like that. You know, I like this one. It really is great. I think it smells a little better than Polo too. Polo, as I said, Polo has the dry down has become kind of bad, which I'm not really liking. But here it's very, very fresh, very, very green and slightly camphor like smell, but lots of aromatics and spices and herbs and things like that. I quite like this one. I'm gonna have to test it out on me because, as I said, Polo, when it dries down, it doesn't become the best smelling fragrance, but initial blast is really, really great. And here the initial blast is really, really great, but I don't know how it dries down, so we'll have to put it to use. But I'm quite enjoying this one. I knew what I was getting into with this particular one because it reminds me of those 80s classics that were very, very popular, very aromatic and spicy, woody as well. So that is Esencia. It's a 1988 release from Loewe. It's Eau de Toilette concentration. So I did buy the Eau de Parfum version of this one as well. And I'm going to open up that one next. Well, it's already open. It came like this, so we'll see how it smells. So as you can look at on the cover, it's a fern. So I guess it's a fougere, obviously. Fern, fougere. Fern means fougere in French. So let's test this one out. This one obviously is a black bottle. Does it mean it's going to be a darker juice in comparison to this one? Obviously this is an eau de toilette, this is an eau de parfum, so darker means it's going to go darker. I don't think I've sampled the eau de parfum version in passing. This one was launched in 2018, so I don't think I've been to Spain since just a year or two prior to that. All right, let's check it out. So Esencia Eau de Parfum 2018 launch. It's a woody aromatic fragrance, features notes of Oakmoss, Lavender, Vetiver, and Sandalwood. Aventus? Wow. Wow, very recognizable smell. It's different than Aventus, but it's Aventus, kind of, yes. I was expecting something completely different with this one. I don't know how they actually decided to veer off in the direction of what the original smells like. It's actually a complete different fragrance. I mean, it's nothing similar to this. I think the only note that they've carried over probably most likely is the Oakmoss and the lavender note in here, which was present in here. So I'm a little disappointed at this one because I don't really need another Aventus dupe or copy or inspired fragrance. And again, it's not identical to Aventus, but it reminds me of it big time. I don't see the pineapple fruitiness in here. It's more oak moss and lavender, but there is a slight undertone there of something fresh, citrusy, perhaps you know, lemons or bergamot or something a little fruitier than that, but not a lot. It's not like sweet or anything. You know, I like the smell, but I wasn't expecting something to smell like Aventus when it's actually a dupe, not a dupe, but the eau de parfum version of the original. So I don't get the idea of this one. I don't know. We shall see. So that's Esencia Eau de Parfum, comes in a box like this, and as I said, the bottles have changed now. I didn't look up the looks of these bottles. Let me know who's a fan of both of these Esencia fragrances from the house of Loewe. Put some comments down so I can find out. And if you know why they did that with changing the style of the fragrance to something that smells a little like polo and then going in a direction of something that smells like Aventus. Most likely it's because that polo-like smell is kind of tired, maybe not so popular. Maybe that's why they went into this Aventus-like direction. I don't know, but you know, I like it. It's not like something I would rush out to buy if I knew it would smell like Aventus. But those of you that are looking for alternatives of Aventus, that might be one for you to check into. All right, the next one we're going to talk about is 7, which is this right here. It's in the new box, but I think it's still the classic bottle in here. Whereas Anonimo, 7 Anonimo is in the classic box with the classic bottle here. Let's talk about 7 first. Looks like once again we have something fern-like. So are we getting another fougere or an aromatic fragrance? We shall see. But this is the bottle for 7. And I've never sprayed this one, but it looks like you don't have a cap on here. So 7 is a 2010 launch. It's a woody, spicy fragrance, and it has notes of black pepper, incense, cedar, vetiver, apple, musk, neroli, rose, and lily of the valley. Now I know I have sampled this one on my travels as well. So this is a woody, spicy fragrance, but it's very soft, spicy. It's got a powdery touch to it. Definitely the black pepper is there. Just some light fruits coming out from under there, but it's a little bit of smoke. It seems a little subdued, a little subtle smell, but I'm enjoying what I'm smelling. I think it's definitely a solid release, but again, I'd like to test these out all on my skin. We're just doing first impressions of these fragrances now, but those of you that are familiar with this fragrance 7 by Loewe, let me know, put a comment down. Again, I think the bottle is no longer this. I think it's a blue bottle now, similar to this, kind because they're all uniform bottles now, and in the past obviously these were all different looking bottles. And on top here they have the logo once again. All right, you know, this is very subtle. It has a very subtle characteristic, so maybe it might bloom a little more on me, but it seems powdery for one, and it just doesn't scream. It's not a screamer like the previous fragrances, which I quite enjoyed. So this one will have to be put to test. So that's Loewe 7. Let me know if you're a fan of Loewe 7 and or if you are a fan of Loewe 7 Anonimo, this one right here. So this one is a 2016 launch. Obviously it's a flanker of the original 7. This one is a leather fragrance. Hopefully this one's going to be a little louder. Yes, so it is definitely older bottle once again. And let's give this one a try. It says it's a leather, but for me the notes seem like it's an Oriental. Lots of Oriental notes like ambers and vanillic touches. Well, there's no vanilla, but there's benzoin, so it seems more like an Oriental style of fragrance. So a 2016 launch. This sprayer's not that good. Okay, there it goes. Oh, maybe it's not that good. Yeah, it's definitely not that good. No, I think it has more leather. I mean, it features notes of incense, leather, pink pepper, labdanum, benzoin, vetiver, sandalwood. I can see the leather touches in here. It's leathery, it's dark, definitely matches the color of the bottle. I like this one better than the original 7. I like it, it's darker, definitely has the sweet touches, you know, it's ambery because of that labdanum and benzoin note in there. But I think what's standing out a little more is the leather with the incense. So there's some smoky touches. I like this one. It's spicy as well from the pink pepper. Once again, it's also a little powdery. It's still not as loud as the previous, I mean not the previous, but the first 2 fragrances that I sampled. There's a subtlety about these 2 fragrances, Loewe 7 and Loewe 7 Anonimo, but maybe that's just the way they were created. There is a little bit of a subtle quality to them, a little light, not necessarily screamers. And I'm not saying the first 2 were screamers, but they just stood out a little more. They had more of a presence when I sprayed them. Okay, the last one we're going to talk about is Loewe Solo, and this is definitely in the old bottle. I know it's changed now, but the old bottle is kind of like very square, and it comes in here. Let me know if you're a fan of Solo. Actually, let me know if you're a fan of the 7s, 7 and 7 Anonimo. But Solo, I've heard a lot of folks mention this one, and Solo came out in 2004. This one's definitely one that I've sampled before. Something's broken, it looks like. I hate these when I blind buy. Something was broken. Anyway, so this is Solo. Loewe Solo right there. This is the 2004 launch, and this one's definitely considered an Oriental style. And I think even though it has a lot of citruses, definitely lots of warm Oriental notes. So we shall see how this one smells. But according to the notes, we've got Mandarin orange, guava, pink pepper, cinnamon, tangerine, lavender, amber, woods, vanilla, aldehydes. There's a lot more notes. Those are what I'm mentioning. And I like this one actually. Once again, it's a little subtle, but I kind of like what I'm smelling here. It's definitely a warm citrus experience. Warm as in the warm notes of the Oriental touches like vanilla and things like that. Cinnamon is definitely a warm note. But there's a freshness around all the warm notes. So it's a kind of a contrasting touches. I like this one. Really, really nice. It's a pleasant scent. I'm digging it. I like the Mandarin orange touch in here. The guava, it has a slight tropical twist to it. The spices of the pink pepper, the aromatic touches of lavender. You know, I'm enjoying this one. I have to put it to use, but I like it. I really like the way it smells. And this one would definitely, I think, here's how the bottle or the cap works. But I don't know what was broken in here. Something fell out. Either way, I think this one's definitely solid. The 2 that I didn't go wow for are the 7s, the 7 and the 7 Anonimo, but solo seems nice. And then also, even though Esencia Edt Parfum is kind of reminding me of Aventus, I think it's definitely got a presence. It's a little more substantial. And then, of course, the original Esencia with its aromatic Fougere touches, it definitely has this substantial presence to it. But 7 and Anonimo 7 were a little subdued, a little more subtle experience. Maybe because it's a powdery touch, or maybe it's been reformulated. I don't know, but we'll have to put it to use. But either way, I think this is a great solid collection from this house, a Spanish house called Loewe. Let me know if you're a fan of Loewe 001 Man, and also let me know what you think about these particular fragrances, and if there are any others from this house that I should look into. I know this was mostly a blind buy. As I said, I had sampled them in my travels, but never really picked up any. And when I go smelling fragrances in department stores, I'm usually going to check for things that I already know, not for things that I haven't really experienced with, especially a brand I don't know much about. But when I'm there, I usually end up going to the Loewe department and smelling a few things, but my nose is already a bit tired. But I'm quite happy with some of these, especially like Solo. And even though the Esencia Edt Parfum seems redundant because I already have Aventus, I like what I'm smelling there. And then I really love the original Esencia, as I said. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my video today. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please do like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.